Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Katie Peterson. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, holistic pain management specialist, and I help people reclaim their lives from chronic pain. And tonight I want to talk about the number one question that I wish more people who struggle with chronic pain asked. Not the one that I get asked most often, but the one that I wish people asked more often. And that's this: what is pain? We don't really get taught that. And the number of times I've worked with people who have been in pain for years and years and years and really can't answer this question very well, or have never been told the answer to this question, baffles my mind. And the fact that I made it through 7 years of physical therapy school without really learning the answer to this question baffles my mind even more. So let's talk about it. What is pain? So obviously it's an uncomfortable sensation. And most of us learn about pain when we're very young. And usually we learn about it in the guise of an injury, right? We fall off our bikes and skin our knees and we get a cut and it hurts. And oftentimes those experiences of pain come with tissue damage. And oftentimes they also come with kind of an emotionally charged experience. Maybe our caregivers were really afraid, or maybe we were in a scary situation where we didn't have support. And so that can oftentimes lead our education of pain to be a little more scary than it needs to be. Because the reality is that pain at its core is a protective mechanism from our body. So pain is generated by the nervous system. When we think of our nervous system, you can think of it as our brain, our spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves that branch out from the spinal cord to cover every inch of our body. We actually have 45 miles worth of nerves in our body. If you line them up all end to end, it would cover 45 miles, which is crazy. So this system, this nervous system, really covers our entire body, every square inch. And the best way to think of the nervous system is like an alarm system. And you can think of pain like the alarm. So our brain is the central computer of the alarm system. And all of our peripheral nerves and our spinal cord, those are like the sensors that go out throughout the house and tell our central computer what's going on. Who's opening what door, what window is cracked, what threshold is being crossed, etc. And so there's a constant two-way communication. Our nerves are always sending information up to our brain about what's going on around us and within us. Our brain takes all of that information, analyzes it, and sends responses down to the body, telling the body what to do about that. Makes sense, right? And so when we're looking at pain, essentially pain is the alarm that goes off when our central computer, our brain, determines that the sensations coming from our nerves are concerning enough to be determined a threat to our survival. So let's break that down one more time. When our brain determines that there is a threat to us, we will have an experience of pain. And so oftentimes this does come along with an injury, right? And it makes sense when we think of it in terms of that. If we step on a nail, our body needs us to know that we have a nail in our foot so that we can take it out, tend to the wound, and avoid getting an infection that could potentially cause bigger problems down the road, right? That makes so much logical sense. Or if we touch a hot stove, we need to know that it's hot, so we pull our hand away in order to avoid getting a burn. What a lot of people don't realize is that this alarm system that we have in our body is highly intelligent, and it is highly, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It learns, it modifies, and it adjusts its response. So the best analogy for this would be a young child who doesn't know yet about the danger of stoves or a hot burner. And they come into a kitchen, they touch the burner, their nerve endings send a signal up to their brain saying, holy crap, we just touched something really hot and there's some tissue damage down here. The brain analyzes that and goes, crap, pull your hand away. and that causes the child to pull their hand away in order to avoid getting a worse burn. But the burn happened. So in that instance, our body was unable to prevent us from getting an injury. So our brain, our central supercomputer, is going to take a snapshot of everything that was going on in that moment when we got burned. And the next time that we're in that same situation, it's going to take all of that information that it recorded and it's going to apply it to prevent an injury next time. So what does that mean? That means that next time we get close to a heat source that's similar to what caused the burn in the last time, we are going to feel pain sooner and potentially more intensely in order to get us to pull away faster to avoid getting injured in the first place. So that system analyzed, learned, and modified the response. And we've all seen the proof of this in our daily life. Anyone ever stood too close to a campfire? You can get really uncomfortable, right? But the reality is, even if we stand too close to a campfire to where it hurts, we don't walk away with a burn. So in that experience, we have pain without the actual tissue damage. And that is pain acting in its preventive manner. So oftentimes we think of pain as only existing when there's tissue damage present, and that's just not true. Pain in itself, if I were to put it into a concise definition, would be an uncomfortable sensation that we experience when our brain determines that something bad is happening or might happen to us that could threaten our survival. And so we have to break this correlation we have between pain equaling tissue damage, because it doesn't always equal tissue damage. Sometimes pain just means threat. And the threat is this huge category that could mean so many other different things. And so when we are able to reframe that and we look at pain not just as a protective mechanism, but a preventive mechanism, it can sometimes help us to approach our own pain in a different way. And so instead of thinking of pain as this horrible thing that comes to ruin our day, what would happen if we started thinking of it as a friend? Thinking of pain as a communication from our body, as information. What if we started viewing pain as our body's best attempt to protect us? And no, it's not a fun way to be protected, but our nervous system cares about one thing and one thing only, and that is our survival. It doesn't care if it's convenient. And so when our body fails, or rather when we fail to respond to our body's signals at lower levels, our body has to resort to louder ways of trying to get our attention. And pain, ultimately, is the best way our body knows to get our attention, to seek change, changed behavior, changed environment, just change. And so next time you're experiencing pain, pause for a second and think, what is it my body's trying to protect me from right now? Be curious to see what comes up. So now you know what pain is, and let me know what you think. Tell me down in the comments, does this resonate? Does this sound crazy? What do you discover when you ask that question? What is your body trying to protect you from? And don't forget to like and follow along for more information. We're going to get more into this topic of what pain really is and why sometimes it becomes chronic. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. That's it for now. Have a great night. Bye.